All right, so as a Wagie that's not on a full-time contract at a Wagie job, your only other choices are attaining a part-time contract or a casual contract. Part-time means your hours are guaranteed per week. You get paid less per hour, but you also accrue annual leave and sick leave. Being a casual means you don't have any sort of set hours or entitlements to paid leave, but you get paid more per hour as compensation for this. I have a part-time contract myself on the weekends, as it fits around my accounting 9-to-5 weekday career just fine. But some people I talk to in real life are confused by this. They're like, "Are you at WageWorths again this weekend?" And I'm always like, well, yeah, that's my contract. Like, unless I call in sick or schedule a day off, or the store is closed for Christmas, then I am obliged to be there. It's not like I pick and choose if I want to work this weekend or not. I'm basically legally obligated to. I'm not a casual there, I'm part-time. At times you do start to question yourself, like, damn, I have to go to work at the retail gig this weekend? I just worked all week at the office, and now I have more work. I won't talk about the reasons why in this video since I've talked about it countless times before, and I went on a whole tangent about it being used for a better future, specifically investments and real estate, in this video on screen, but I'll also be showing more reasons as to why sticking with a contract was a smart move on my end, using some anecdata from Reddit to support my reasons. At my old store, you didn't really need a contract to get hours. There were heaps of hours available. At my new store, it's way bigger, so there's more staff willing to take hours. And they also have more strict processes to adhere to, so there's less flexibility than the old store. At my old store, I could have gotten 18 hours on the weekend, every weekend, no worries, mate. At my current store, you'd be lucky to get 10 hours on the weekend due to how the processes work. I have mentioned this in a prior video, but I know for a fact that if I dropped my contract and tried to get it back, even after 1 week of not working there, I wouldn't get it back. Basically, my contracted hours don't align with the way the store processes work, but they can't do anything about it since I've signed a contract. They can't do anything about my hours. I hedged my finances, like how stock traders buy puts to hedge against downside risk, or sports bettors don't chuck every bet into the same parlay/multi. It's also like me getting my graduate certificate in artificial intelligence for business. It's a hedge against any automation risks for my accounting career. So I play it safe. Opted for a part-time guaranteed contract as opposed to a higher pay but less stable casual employment contract. And it's been the much smarter move, as you'll see later in this video. I also talked about playing it safe in my I lost 40k from not job hopping video. Same principle applies there. I could have picked higher paying jobs for now, but they're potentially less stable and I need that stability for my real estate loan. And once I have that real estate, honestly, the hardest part of my life is over here in Australia. You have no clue of how much of a hurdle to life that is in this country. Well, I mean, it's pretty much the same in most other countries, but especially here. If you live here, you know. I'll showcase this more once I have the real estate secured. So casual rates are 25% above the usual rate. So let's say I earn about $600 a week from Wagie gig. If I was casual instead of part-time, that's $750 a week instead of $600 a week. An extra $150. Pretty good, hey? A more bang for your buck return on your time. But once again, the stability. There's no guarantee you'd get the same hours, which I'll talk about shortly. Now recently, a new EBA has been agreed on for Woolworths. 62% yes, which is way lower than the yes vote for the 2018 EBA agreement, which was like 93% from memory. So this shafts us. Too many people got suckered into saying yes from the gift cards. If an agreement was so good, why is there a need for bribing with gift cards? Whatever. So when negotiations are bounced back, there's always a better deal that comes out of it. But most Wagie retail employees don't bother to do the homework on this sort of stuff. There's a bunch of whatever stuff in this agreement, and there was propaganda all over woolies stores. But the main thing now is we only get raises when the Fair Work Commission says we get raises. Without this, our wages stay stagnant. This is why a conventional career is important. You are in control, for the most part, of your wages. Accounting doesn't have any sort of union. It's a bad thing as many companies like the Big Four can force unreasonable, unpaid overtime. But it's also a good thing since the only real negotiations with your salary are between you and another employer. If a company wants to pay me $141,000 a year instead of $140,000 a year, they can do so. They just generally don't, since round numbers work better and there's some budgets they have to follow sometimes. But a slight change in a budget to fit a good candidate is substantially easier to change than an entire union's contract. Anyway, point is, this will come back to buy Woolies workers in the arse. Hope that few $100 gift card was worth it. I have seen other Wagie job employees on Reddit getting shafted with their hours, and a lot of the reason is because they were casual employees. They weren't protected with a contract. No doubt this new EBA agreement has some clauses that screw over wagies even more, which would be protected with a contract. So, let's go over some of these Reddit posts. Kanye, I work at Coles. Over the last few weeks, I've had my hours cut from 27 to 12 per week due to the same reason. Pretty livid. This same reason, I can't remember what the OG post was referring to. I just took these screenshots as I was reading them and figured it'd make a good video later on. But it was probably some cost-cutting measure. I have said in prior videos that supermarket jobs are super stable. Yes, they are. When they cut costs, they don't fire anyone, they just cut hours. Well, if you have a part-time contract, you're protected from these labor hour cuts. So this person consistently had 27 hours per week. That's slashed to less than half of what they originally had. So this person's income has been shafted due to the corporate fat cats. Two solutions here. One, have a standard full-time career. Your hours can't get cut. But if they cut your job as a whole as opposed to just cutting some hours, you have some in-demand skills in the labor market required to go and get a new job. Or two, have a part-time contract as opposed to a casual one. Coles worker here, the same shit is happening at Coles. Oh, by the way, Coles and Woolworths, aka Woolies, aka Wageworths, are the two giant supermarkets here in Australia. In the UK, you guys have like Tesco and Aldi. In the US, you guys have like Walmart and Kroger's. I know both of those countries have more supermarkets, but I'm just using a like-to-like sort of comparison. So when you hear Coles or Woolies, those are the two big supermarkets here. Anyway, this same shit has been happening at Coles. I've been working 15 plus hours a week for 3 years, and now I'm being cut to 10 hours, all because of these new gates and self-checkout systems, not to mention the fact I'm part-time. Another part-timer is actually being asked to change to casual because of the restrictions. Bullshit. Okay, maybe I stand corrected. A part-time contract didn't save this person. Or do I stand corrected? They said 15 plus hours for 3 years, and now they're being cut to 10. Well, currently, a part-time contract requires a minimum of 10 hours. A part-time contract can't have an arbitrary set of hours, such as 15 plus like this person says. If you have a part-time contract, it'll say 10 hours or 13 hours or 25 hours. It won't say 15 plus hours. I strongly suspect that this person's contract is 10 hours. They were just working 15 plus for years from extra casual shifts. Another thing that supports my assumption here is the last line. Another part-timer is actually being asked to change to casual because of the restrictions. Okay, why are they being asked? Why can't the company just cut them? Well, it's because of their contract. I know for a fact my store would do this if they could with me. I mean, I would say no. And in my specific circumstances, they kind of need my extra hours anyway, since there's always some extra work to be done in my department. But if they really wanted to slash my hours, they'd have to ask me to drop to casual. They couldn't just go ahead and do this. Why? Again, the contract saves me. I hedged my bets years ago with this contract, and now it's covering my ass. Unlike some people on this forum, I happen to be a soothsayer.
Well, I happen to be a wizard, a soothsayer, a prognosticator. I have the power to see into the future.
I did somewhat foresee crap like this happening, so I protected myself. Although once they did cut my part-time hours years ago without asking me, I was on my study abroad program in Denmark in 2017, and I got an email saying my hours had changed. I didn't know much about employment laws back then, but once I got back, the new manager we had after a few weeks was like, "Oh shit, sorry, I didn't realize your contract was 15 hours. I thought you were only contracted for 10. So I got my 5 extra hours a week on a Tuesday night. I had to ditch a social basketball competition I was playing in at the time. Good times. But anyway, point is, part-time contract saves you from these shenanigans. I worked there 20 years ago and it was the same. They cut hours so badly at one point, the back dock was so full of stock we had to turn trucks away. I remember one time I was filling eggs and a manager came to tell me to fill them faster. I put the box on the ground, walked out and went home. I came to work the next day as usual. Nothing was said about it. They knew they went too far. So yep, they cut hours, but obviously productivity suffers as a result. And notice this person said, cut hours, not cut staff. Again, supermarket gig is stable. You lose hours, not your job. But you don't lose hours if you get a contract. You get a contract by being there for a while, taking up extra shifts. Eventually, gaps form in the roster that require filling. Once there's more staff turnover as some staff leave, the manager asks you if you want that shift contracted, you accept it, and now those hours are safe. Also, the egg thing is a lol. I do believe that has happened. Managers do go overboard sometimes. And at the time of recording, there's an egg shortage here in Victoria because there's a flu going around that's like killing off a heap of chickens, so eggs are pretty scarce at the moment. It would be nice to be told to fill eggs faster because that would imply that we actually have eggs. Yeah, the stores are $$ and at ED. Oh, okay. The stores are fucked. I was doing 2 to 3 shifts a week for the past 2 years, and early this year, they started giving me only 2 shifts a fortnight. And the latest roster, I'm not even on. I'm just glad I have another full-time job. Hey, bros just like me for real. It's funny how having 2 separate jobs as opposed to one is also a hedge against income losses, like this guy losing his hours. Again, a contract saves you from these hour cuts. However, given the fact he has another full-time job, I imagine he didn't want the obligation of a contract. But with that said, he did say he was doing 2 to 3 shifts per week for the last 2 years. So I suppose he wasn't super fussed on the extra obligation. But you can tell he's upset by this. He's not neutral. He's not like, oh, I lost my hours, but at least I have more free time. No, he's like, the stores are fucked. I'm just glad I have another full-time job. So once again, part-time contract saves your hours here. Yes, you get paid less per hour that you're there, but better to have 10 stable guaranteed hours per week rather than potentially 0 for weeks at a time. Casual night fill employee here can say this is very real. In the past 3 weeks, I had my regular 20 to 25 hours of work cut down to 0 hours. This is my second job, so luckily I am not dependent on my income from Woolworths like others may be, but I still can't help but feel frustrated. Every night I am rostered to work, I will be messaged only 4-ish hours in advance with a message along the lines of, I have to remove your shift tonight, too many hours, boss just messaged, sorry. Back up to 8 hours this week because I had to supplement with cross-store work. If I didn't, I would have nothing coming in for this week. If this stays the way it is, I'm done. I don't have the energy or nerve to put up with these sleazy big corporate tactics. Wow. So once again, a contract saves you. This casual night fill employee lost 20 plus hours a week due to corporate fat cats. But having a contract protects you from this shit. Given the fact they work so many hours here, I assume their second job is another sort of Wagie type job. Like they don't have the career stat full time. It's like, I don't know, McDonald's is job 2 or something. What further backs up my assumption here is where they say, if I didn't, I would have nothing coming in for this week. So that tells me their other job is also a casual wagey gig. Otherwise, they likely would have said, otherwise I'd have no income from Woolies again this week, rather than nothing coming in again. So this person's issues could have been resolved via 1, a career, or 2, a part-time contract. Why doesn't this person just start a YouTube channel then? According to the internet, that's one of the best ways to make money. Maybe because it's a safer and much more guaranteed move to just go and work a job. I will talk about this in an upcoming video on my YouTube channel's monetization. Actually, that video is already out. I had these scripts going at the same time and I just didn't know which one I'd get out first. The YouTube monetization video made it out first. But in that video, I compare the income I earn from YouTube and the income I earn from a Wagie job. I'd suggest going and checking that out once this video is done because it provides some perspective on the income from Wagie jobs versus the whole entrepreneur type of shit. Also, what cross-store work means is you work at Woolies but at a different store. Just in case some people didn't know what that meant, instead of working at a supermarket in Town 1, I can go work at a supermarket in Town 2, for instance. Stuff like this is common with larger Wagie companies. They kept promoting this shit in some recent team survey thing. Us Wagies were like, we're drowning in the cost of living. And the company was like, hey, you can work at other stores, or you can get trained in other departments. AKA, their solution was telling us to work more instead of paying us more. Again, this is why a career is a better option. If you get basically undermined like this, you can easily move workplaces since you have a valued skill set. Like, no disrespect to minimum wage workers or wages, but really, your skills aren't that valued in the labour market. That's why we don't get paid that much. That's why we're disrespected. So if you have a conventional career, you avoid issues like this. Girlfriend also works at Woolies. She went from doing 30 hours to absolutely 0. And she has like 4 years experience. I worked at Macca's, which is the Aussie way of saying McDonald's. Pretty much the same shit as well. We both instantly applied and got new, way better jobs in industries that weren't saturated with cheaper workers. Yep, once again, another casual whose hours got culled. And once again, this is mitigated via a contract. Good to see these people have moved on up. It's a little harsh to say, but these Wagie jobs are meant to be a stepping stone in your journey, unless you go into management. You're meant to work at jobs like this just to earn some money to get you by, whilst you get your main thing sorted. Usually it's a career, but if you want to do your own business, then sure. Point is, these jobs aren't meant to be the end destination. So yes, the conditions can be shit, but you're not really meant to put up with these for extended periods of time. My Wagie job is to fund a real estate investment. That investment, coupled with my career, is where my secure income/future stems from. Most people work Wagie jobs whilst at uni/school. You have some cases of like former stay-at-home mums who need some extra money now that the kids are at school. There's probably some aspiring YouTubers who work these in the meantime until their channel gets 1 million subs. Good luck with that. I'd suggest to those people to get a part-time contract since, no doubt, you'll be at the Wagie job for a long time waiting for that. At least protect your current hours and thank me later. My mum quit when her store demoted all the managers with like a week's notice. There was a manager per department and then put 3 manager roles available store-wide. I think it ended up 1 manager to 3 departments, which was a shit show. My mum was managing online orders and suddenly she was a regular team member and online orders, deli and another department were merged to 1 manager who had to figure out all the systems, employee shifts, inventory, etc. Wow, that's fucked. Woolies did some restructure in 2019 that screwed over some managers. My old store was included in that department merge. It was indeed a shit show. I have no clue how we even functioned, to be honest. So in that case, the contract didn't save anyone since they all got demoted. But from the restructure, from my eyes, what happened was managers had to reapply for their jobs or take redundancy, which is a nice little payout. What happened in this Reddit post is kinda ambiguous. I find it hard to believe a specific store just made everyone redundant in only 1 week. You'd need some sort of consultation process, which takes a lot more than a week. My only guess is this was illegal, but the employees didn't know what actions could be taken. I guess this doesn't really concern me, or my viewers anyway. Since this video is more so a pro part-time contracts type of video, I have always said a career is first and foremost. If this kind of shit happened to you as a doctor or engineer or lawyer or accountant or tradie or whatever, worst case is you just move to another company that requires your skill set, which is a lot of them. A lot of them require those skill sets. If you're at a Wagie job, you do have some retail skills, but in terms of supermarket specific, there's only a handful you can go to, and all the stores in the same sort of region will be run by the same manager, so it's not as simple as just moving to a different location. Because obviously in the other locations, the same head manager, like area manager, knows of your situation if you were a manager in that case. So he or she isn't going to be like, oh, well, they were a pain in the ass at this store, but maybe they'll be okay at this store. Like, no, that's not going to happen. Especially since in Australia, there's only really 2 major supermarkets anyway, so you don't really have much choice of where you want to go if you have this sort of retail career. Unfortunately, you probably have to put up with the shit that Coles or Woolies throws your way. Great, just what I wanted to hear. Me gonna lose my hours. Nice English. I'm autistic. Bro, just like me for real. I fought for near a decade to get my fucking 29-hour contract after being abused and treated like garbage and almost unalived myself in store. Wow. I'm just disappointed. How do you game over yourself in store? Drinking the bleach? I don't know. But dude, you said you have a contract. You're safe. I can't even recall what the post was talking about, but it was complaining about supermarket policies. I think. You won't lose your hours if you're on a contract, bro. You're overreacting. You're safe. If you were a casual, on the other hand, not so much. Ditto, literally on break 2, I was a casual forced into part-time conversion based on the threat of losing my hours. Now I only have 20 contract hours and usually flex up to 36, but have been informed due to budget cuts, I can only work my contract hours. Department manager is overruling this just by having me show up when I'm not rostered, but this is not a long-term solution. I'm sick of being treated like a casual on part-time wage. If I want to call in sick, well, tough shit, because my rostered hours far exceed my contract, so I would be losing money. I'm looking for a new job next week. This is the final straw. On all my priority ones today, I've been giving customers shit for free because fuck Woolworths. Okay, so once again, the contract saved your hours. We saw earlier people working 20 plus hours who got cut to 0. At least your floor is 20 hours. He said he was forced into part-time based on the threat of losing his hours. Not sure if this was a manager telling him that or him realizing that himself, but yep, once again, the contract saves you. He says he flexed up to 36 hours. What this means is he's contracted 20, but he worked 36. A flex up is the wording they use at Woolies for part-timers to agree to more hours. There's some legal processes involved with that. I don't know much about it, nor do I care. All I know is if I was going to work an extra 5 hours in 1 week, I'd need to flex up my contract to 23 hours instead of the 18 I have. If I didn't, the company has to pay penalties or I can't do the hours or something. It's as simple as changing some number on your work app. Anyway, the point is, he was working 36 hours, but only 20 were guaranteed. So, once again, a part-time contract saves your income stability. Like he said there was budget cuts. Well then why didn't the store cut his hours to 10 or 5 or none? Why did they still give him a whole 20 hours? Well, the contract. His contract was 20 hours, so those hours are safe. The not contracted hours, aka the extra 16 hours, were not contracted, so they're not safe. Also, interesting point on him giving away free shit at the registers. Not saying I agree with this at all, but it's a possible side effect of treating your workers like shit. I've seen instances in the accounting subreddit too, people who got fired under unfair circumstances, the accountant took valuable info with them, /locked certain documents, then the company is like, shit, we needed that, and they call their former employee back afterwards, and the employee doesn't hand over the info /passwords. It costs the company hundreds of thousands of dollars. Not sure how many people know this, but you can lock Excel documents. Go to Review, click Protect Sheet, tick the appropriate boxes, provide a password, re-enter password, done. So, No doubt the former accountants were the only ones with the passwords to these sheets. So now, the company can't access these important Excel documents, or any other documents anymore. Whereas if you leave on good terms, generally people aren't this malicious, so this stuff doesn't happen. Just something for companies to think about. Not that they care what I think. Casual for 2 years, used to consistently get 20 hours or more a week, asked for a contract and was refused because the department I was working in wasn't the department I had been hired in. What a weird reason not to give a contract. Had a baby, came back from my unpaid maternity leave early because cost of living and the store needed me, only to now be lucky if I get one 5-hour shift every 2 weeks, or the text at 4:55 p.m, can you work tonight 5 till 11? Desperately seeking new employment, but also clinging badly to hope that if I just ride this out long enough, it will get better. Fuck Woolworths. So once again, contract saves you from this shit. It's unfortunate they weren't given the contract even after asking for it. It seems like they knew this stuff would happen. My guess with the department thing was she was only temporarily working in it, so they couldn't offer her a contract. It's an unfortunate situation, and not her fault since she wanted a contract and asked for one, but it just further proves my point of how a part-time contract saves you from this sort of stuff. I worked for Woolworths for 5 years, was part-time, changed to being casual, and when I asked if I could change back to part-time, the department manager said they didn't have enough hours, yet they were hiring school kids / part-time students. It was fucking ridiculous. Had to spend an hour or more to train new staff on what to do and let them shadow me for the day, but I couldn't get an extra 5 hours. Then, when my personal life started to affect my mental health, store management literally gave me an ultimatum. Either I bring in a copy of my discharge papers, mind you, casual doesn't get sick / personal pay, or I have to explain why I should keep my job. Was on the phone with them for 2 hours in tears, and yet they state they care about their workers. Fuck that. Fuck Woolworths. Okay, that's pretty fucked. Never heard anything like that at my store. Unfortunately, this person has to put up with it to keep their income. Why? Because besides other retail Wagie jobs, there's no demand in the labour market for this skill set. If my Wagie job pulled shit like this, I'd find another weekend-specific job. No doubt there's demand for someone like me, a more mature worker who's reliable. Yeah, it'd be a pain in the ass driving further on weekends for work, but I'd ultimately be fine. Worst case is I have no Wagie income for a few months while I figure out how to fit the new second job around my current routine. Oh well, I have a stable career, bank interest income, and maybe some stock-related income. I don't know, depends on how the market's doing, but I have that money flowing in whilst I figure things out with the weekend job. What about my career gig? What if they try doing this shit? Well, I'd move. Simple. But moving the career job, would ironically be easier since there is more demand for my accounting skills than my retail skills in the labour market. Lately, I've been keeping more tabs on jobs advertised, and there's an entirely new job title called FP&A. I only thought this was a US-specific thing, to be honest, but turns out they exist in Australia too. And guess what these jobs require? Yep, a CPA. I'm one exam from opening the doors to these types of jobs too. So, if my workplace treated me like crap, oh well, I'll go find another job, no problemo. Point for this video is, part-time contract saves you from having your hours cut. I've been working there 2 months so far. My experience with people is alright. Only problem, I went from having about 10 to 16 hours a week to 6. Yeah, so you're new. You can't get a contract until either 6 or 12 months after employment. Not sure which one it is. It's one or the other. So you got to put up with the instability until you earn your stripes. But yet another example, hours were cut. Why? Because no part-time contract. I work for a Coles that earns at least $10,000 a week, and I'm part-time, and my contract is a minimum of 9 hours a week. I rarely get more than that. So $10,000 a week is quite low for a supermarket like Coles. Maybe they meant $100,000 And at Woolies, the part-time minimum is 10 hours, so not sure if there's different agreements at Coles. They also rarely get more than that. Well, do you get less than that? No. Why? Because part-time contract. Once again, part-time contract secures your current hours. Okay, last comment for this vid. More so a meme comment, but it's funny nonetheless. This is either a top-tier shitpost or a boomer. Literally no in between. Less time on the phones. Do your work, food slave. Customers are rightly just as pissed at the staff as well as management. We see you having your little chats with each other before slowly turning around to serve the next person in the express lane. We need you to be faster. Honestly, I don't care how much the items cost. I have a real job. I don't work at Woolworths. I just want the time I have to spend at Woolworths to be minimized. Also, why do you put the 700-year-old ladies on the express aisle? Is it so hard to put the attractive ones there? And how hard is it to lay the meats/bacon flat when you wrap it? No, I don't want a rolled up stack of bacon. Do you job better? Do you job better, Nice grammar. So, lol, this got a good chuckle out of me. Some stuff he said is right though, like some workers chatting. I'm guilty of this, to be honest. Oh well. The bacon thing is also valid. I remember when I was still in the deli department at my old store, some customer once was happy that I served him, and he said, "It still looks like bacon when you wrap it." Basically, the way I wrap it is properly. I fold it in a way where it doesn't get jumbled up, whereas most staff just scrunch it up together. Working in a small town like that, you become well known to customers. One time this customer was ranting about the service from other staff, and she goes, "That guy in the deli is great, but everyone else sucks." One of the other duty managers told me this, and he's like, "You got a compliment in the middle of an insult," like lol. But yeah, this bacon stuff is right. The comment on the old ladies versus the attractive ones is pretty funny. Some customers do like their pretty young chicks. I don't mind who I get as long as they're competent. I mean, I work there, so worst case, I can just interact with the pretty girls later, lmao. Also, do your work, food slave. I have a real job, I don't work at Woolies. Yeah, so as a wagie, you're going to receive this slander. The amount of times someone who I worked with years ago, who has been in the store grocery shopping whilst I'm working, they come up to me and they're like, "Why are you still here?" They have no clue about the great real estate plan. I made some real job joke at some Wagie social event once, and I think people got offended. The only people who laughed were others who had other jobs too. Whoops. So anyway, that's just some evidence to show that a part-time contract is better than a casual one when it comes to Wagie jobs. Yes, you get paid more per hour as a casual, but your hours aren't guaranteed like a part-timer would be. And this stability also helps out with getting loans from the bank, which is what you need to get real estate. And being Aussie, real estate is what our country is obsessed with. Do you work the Wagie life like me? Do you have a part-time or casual contract? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. That is all.